Hello and very warm welcome to Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. Following are the news headlines which have been reported by American, European, Asian, Canadian, African, and Australian news channels and AFP, AP, Reuters, news agencies. So now please let's watch the news headlines.
Tonight, the U.S. stunned by Israel's attack targeting Hamas leaders inside Qatar. Qatar, a key U.S. ally. Why wasn't that country warned until 10 minutes later? Also tonight, the images, the disaster at American port. Massive cargo containers falling into the ocean, and you'll see it. And in New York City, the couple found burned to death inside their home, what they were asked for at their door. First tonight, Israel launching an assault targeting Hamas leaders inside Qatar, where talks are taking place. A huge plume of fire and smoke. Qatar accusing Israel tonight of sabotaging the talks. And late today, Qatar saying it wasn't warned by the U.S. until 10 minutes after the attack. What President Trump is now saying tonight. Also tonight, the birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein, what the President and White House are now saying about the letter allegedly written by Trump to Epstein. And what the White House now says it's open to. Tonight, the images just coming in, the disaster at a U.S. port, shipping containers into the water. Tonight, the famous musician and the disturbing discovery found inside his Tesla. Human remains inside a bag in the front trunk. In New York City, the chilling deaths of that couple set on fire in their own home. There is an urgent manhunt right now. Police say the suspect asked to charge his phone. Tonight, inside the immigration crackdown underway in Chicago at this hour. Pierre Thomas witnessing it firsthand who they're after. And Pierre tonight asking about the critics who want to know why agents across the country in these crackdowns are masked. Tonight, look at this, the newly released video showing a mystery in the sky. A U.S. Reaper drone shooting a Hellfire missile at this glowing object. It appears to speed away undamaged. Where this happened and what we know so far. Tonight, the school bus carrying a young team flipping several times. Several players and a coach in critical condition tonight. This evening, Apple unveiling the new iPhone. What it says is the thinnest iPhone ever. The Eagles' Jalen Carter learning his punishment tonight after spitting on his opponent. And the major Ford recall this evening, nearly 1.5 million vehicles, 50 different models, and we'll tell you why. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is...
The city of Charlotte, North Carolina, now home to one of the most horrific crimes ever caught on camera. 23-year-old Irina Zarutska, seen here, had no idea that when she boarded a commuter train on her way home from her shift at a local pizza restaurant, that it would be the last thing that she would ever do. That is because DeCarlos Brown Jr., a repeat offender, allegedly took her life by stabbing her in the neck with a knife. Now, the city is facing pressing questions over safety and their response to this crime. Charlotte City Council member Edwin Peacock III joins me now. Councilmember, thank you so much for doing just that. Just first want to get your reaction to this horrific crime that has taken place in your city.
We're 18 days from the murder of Ms. Zarutski. Our city is just blown away by what we've seen. Obviously, this is not something that we normally see in the 14th largest city of the United States, and certainly on a light rail system that we're extremely proud of. It's the largest one to be put in place. Opened up in 2007. First one between Atlanta and Washington, D.C. Your listeners may not know, but most of our light rail system is above the ground. We don't have any underground subways here. So again, it's shocking and appalling what we've seen.
Well, this suspect had 14 prior arrests, and he was out on no bail pending trial at the time of this murder. So obviously the glaring question here, council member, is why was he allowed out into this community to commit this crime in the first place? And that is a question that's not only coming from me, it's also coming from DeCarlos Brown Jr.'s own mother, who said he is schizophrenic and aggressive. She says the court should have never let her son out in the community knowing he had mental health issues and previous arrests. Is this system of cashless bail something that you would like to see changed?
Absolutely. This is a poster child example of someone who's clearly a harm to themselves and harm to others. Our police are doing an excellent job in arresting these types of individuals, but we have a court system that's overwhelmed. We have a North Carolina system that has de-institutionalized individuals that really should have hospitalization and permanent around-the-clock care. I hope this wakes up a conversation, not just around the mental health topic, which has certainly been talked about a lot, but we have to actually follow that with actions. And as sad as this tragedy is, I hope that it will shine a bright light on it.
Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes is the one who let the suspect out on no bail pending trial, and apparently there was a written note that he would appear in court, and that is what allowed him to be released. What do you think about that, and should she face consequences as a result of this decision? What do you think about that, and should she face consequences as a result of this decision?
Each one of these cases, from my understanding, and I also had some personal experience trying to get what's called an involuntary commitment of an individual that I was close with who was having similar type issues. It's all based off each individual case. And in the case of Mr. Brown, our understanding was that it was on a very minor infraction that they were trying to obviously get him to seek more help. So each one is situation by situation. No judge anywhere is going to ever think they're going to release somebody like this. It's going to do this type of heinous crime on it. But again, it just points to the fact that you see a history. In his case, 12 arrests as an adult under CMPD, our police department. How do we stop this? There's clearly other individuals just like him. I traveled on the light rail system myself just 7 days after she was killed, and there's just many individuals.
On this Tuesday night, Israel strikes Qatar. The attack on Doha targeting Hamas leadership and ceasefire negotiators.
They perpetrated the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust,
triggering an international chorus of condemnation. The Canadian city declares a state of emergency over homeless encampments.
If folks want help, we want to be able to help them.
What the unprecedented step empowers the local government to do. Taking a bite out of Apple, the U.S. tech giant unveils its newest iPhones. Will tariffs dial up the price? Plus, out of the woods, the injured orphaned lynx cub getting some TLC in Manitoba.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin with a major escalation in the Middle East. For the first time, Israel launched a strike in Qatar, the capital, Doha, targeting the political headquarters of Hamas. The group's leaders were there, taking part in negotiations over a ceasefire proposal for Gaza.
We are just learning about the Israeli attacks in Qatar, a country that has been playing a very positive role to achieve a ceasefire and release of all hostages. I condemn this flagrant violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Qatar.
The UN and a long list of world leaders, including Canada's Prime Minister, condemned the attack as an affront to Qatar's sovereignty and peace negotiations. As Redmond Shannon reports, the attack is also putting the White House at odds with one of its closest allies.
A fireball in a normally quiet residential part of Qatar's capital, Doha. Israel immediately owning up to an unprecedented operation in a country that has been mediating Gaza peace.
Hello there, good morning. NATO fighter jets scrambled to intercept Russian drones in the early hours of this morning in what's been described as an unprecedented violation over Poland.
Well, it marks the first time that Poland has directly engaged Russia in its airspace since the Ukraine war started in 2022.
So this is a major escalation, but what will the response be?
President Trump condemns Israeli airstrikes on Qatar that failed to wipe out Hamas's senior leadership.
Tragedy in the Channel. A migrant dies during a surge in smallpox, with dozens of others rescued. Yesterday, 600 people crossed to the UK.
Questions for the British ambassador. It's been revealed that Lord Mandelson brokered a £1 billion deal with Jeffrey Epstein after the disgraced paedophile had been convicted.
And it's back British Farming Day, the annual NFU campaign to drive support for you to buy British produce.
And sport this morning, England put in an excellent performance to beat Serbia 5-0 in Belgrade last night. As predicted, I hate to say I told you so, Ange Postecoglou is the new manager of Nottingham Forest, and for the first time in history, horse racing goes on strike.
There's rain around today, and unlike yesterday, most of us will see some. Could be pretty heavy too. Stick around for the details.
Well, we're halfway through the week. A very good morning to you. I'm Eamon Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Stream it all on ABC iView.
Today, the United Nations to hold an emergency meeting after Israel strikes Hamas leaders in Qatar. The US president says he's not thrilled.
I was very unhappy about every aspect. We got to get the hostages back. But I was very unhappy about the way that went down.
Polish Prime Minister calls an emergency meeting after its military shot down Russian drones in its airspace. More deaths in Nepal during violent anti-government protests that forced the resignation of the Prime Minister. And Ange Postecoglou back in the English Premier League after being appointed manager of Nottingham Forest. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ros Childs. Those stories in just a moment, but first we're taking you to Perth, where Senator Jacinta Nabijiba-Price is speaking.
Firstly, I just want to start off by saying that last week, I made comments on the ABC. I almost immediately clarified those comments and expressed, of course, the fact that while, my comments were certainly clumsy, unfortunately, the issue that's of great concern, which I won't be silenced on, is the issue of mass migration in our country, and that was the prime issue that I was talking about, and continue to talk about, and an issue that I truly believe that we need to be able to have a respectful debate about, and we should all be focused on that. Now, that continues to be my concern, obviously, and I have spoken to many members of the Australian community about this, including those who are Australian of Indian heritage. There has been overwhelming outreach from many members of the Australian community in support of me, particularly with this current situation. And so I believe, as part of the coalition and the Liberal Party, should be turning our attention to ensuring that we're holding the Labor government to account on this particular issue, on the fact that
Sweden for France 24, live from Stockholm and on France 24 new programmes.
Paul Rees, one of the 200 France 24 correspondents around the world.
Hello and a very warm welcome if you're just joining us. You're watching Daybreak here on France 24. These are the headlines. Poland scrambles its air defences to shoot down drones in its airspace. An attack on a NATO nation that Poland's armed forces say is being carried out by Russia. No flights in or out of Warsaw's airport as that operation is ongoing. Prime Minister Donald Tusk calling an emergency meeting. A day of disruption and protest planned in France, with strikes and roadblocks expected as the country's newest Prime Minister takes office. Emmanuel Macron naming his Defence Minister Sébastien Lecornu as the next head of government and telling him to focus on finding support for the budget before anything else. A second attack on the Global Sud flotilla. The international coalition gathered in Tunisia says another of its boats hit by a drone strike. No crew or passengers harmed, the convoy says, and true to its name, it says it will continue towards Gaza, determined to break the blockade and start to put an end to the Israeli-made famine there. Good to have you with us. Well, also coming up in this hour of the programme, the army is on the streets of Nepal as protesters there set fire to government buildings. It's one of the stories that Emily Boyle will be taking us through in her press review.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. and Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Rani Samtani. At this hour, Hamas says its leadership survived an Israeli strike targeting its top officials who had gathered in the Qatari capital of Doha for ceasefire negotiations. Qatar calls the attack state terrorism and denies receiving advance warning from the U.S. The Nepali army takes control of national security amid violent protests and reports that the prime minister has fled the country after resigning. More than 20 people have died in violent demonstrations this week. And a chartered plane has left South Korea today to bring back hundreds of workers detained in a U.S. immigration raid.
Hello, good morning. It's 6 o'clock. On today's show, breaking news. NATO jets have scrambled to shoot down Russian drones over Poland.
Plus, on the streets with England's flag raisers ahead of tonight's Sky News debate on immigration.
It's Wednesday, the 10th of September. Russian drones over Poland. Poland's armed forces accuse Russia of an unprecedented violation of its airspace. Patriotism or provocation? Sky News meets the flag campaigners, dividing opinion on the immigration debate.
This is us saying, you're in our country, right? This is what we stand for. You bow to this like how we do.
Calls for Peter Mandelson to be sacked as Britain's ambassador to Washington over his relations with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Former Deputy Prime Minister and Facebook boss Nick Clegg warns that the UK is getting it wrong on free speech. And England put on a 5-star showing in Belgrade to take a giant stride towards World Cup qualification. Hello, good morning everyone. We'll start with breaking news. Poland has accused Russia of an unprecedented violation of its airspace and has scrambled NATO jets to shoot down drones that it says have entered Poland. The incursion forced key airports in the region to close, including the main international airports in the capital, Warsaw. Well, let's go live to our Europe correspondent Siobhan Robbins, who joins us now. What more can you tell us, Siobhan? Morning.
Morning. Well, this is an ongoing situation that we're being updated from by both Ukraine initially, but now Poland as well. And what we understand is that Poland has said that it's used both its own and NATO air defences to shoot down what they're calling drone-like objects, which have entered its airspace. And the areas that we're looking at of key focus in Poland are to the east, bordering Ukraine, because...
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. An Israeli attack on the Hamas leadership in Qatar has drawn a rare rebuke from the White House. President Trump called the strike unfortunate, saying it would not help to advance peace in the region. Hamas says 5 of its lower-ranking members are dead, including a son of Hamas chief Khalil al-Hayya. Qatar called the strike cowardly. Protesters in Nepal have set fire to the parliament building and the homes of the Prime Minister and other cabinet ministers. The Prime Minister has resigned, but the youth-led protests have continued. Demonstrators are angry about government corruption and a social media ban. 19 were killed on Monday in clashes with the police. France has a new Prime Minister. Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu was appointed by President Emmanuel Macron after his predecessor lost a confidence vote on Monday. Lecornu becomes the country's 4th Prime Minister in a year and will once again oversee a minority government. His predecessors were toppled by opposition to austerity measures. This is DW News from Berlin. You can get much more on our website. That's dw.com.
Africa News. The news.
Malians are growing increasingly anxious as Al-Qaeda-linked militants tighten their blockade on fuel import, touching trucks on key supply routes and threatening to choke off the country's economy. The armed group announced the blockade in a video last week, claiming responsibility for recent attacks on convoy bringing fuel from neighboring Senegal. Residents of the capital say fear is spreading fast. The information that we know now is that the jihadists have spread information that they are taking over everywhere. In Bamako, the partisans were afraid and were worried. But it is propaganda. We will not be able to take Bamako. The soldier may swear to heaven that the terrorists cannot take this territory. Mali's landlocked geography makes it especially vulnerable. The country relies on import from Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire for essential goods, including fuel and cement. Economist Madiba warned the blockade could have crippling consequences. 33% of everything Mali buys as goods and services from abroad is fuel and its derivatives. So Senegal is an important source of supplies for our country. It's about stopping economic exchanges, economically suffocating our country, and above all, preventing the capital from getting supplies. Violence that was once concentrated in the north has steadily crept southward, with Bamako itself suffering deadly attacks in recent years.
When G20 leaders meet in Johannesburg in November, they'll have to make do with US Vice President J.D. Vance. President Trump has said he won't be attending. Trump has had a tense relationship with South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa, who will host the event. The two men clashed during a White House meeting earlier this year, with Trump repeating unfounded allegations that white farmers in South Africa are victims of a genocide. It's a claim Ramaphosa firmly denies. The G20 is made up of the world's largest economies, 19 countries plus the European and African unions. Leaders meet annually to discuss global economic policies. South African officials have welcomed Vice President Vance's participation and said the success of the summit lies in substantive discussion rather than the presence of any single leader. This year's summit has the theme Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability. It's the first time the summit will be held on the African continent.
African leaders and climate activists have called for a radical shift in global climate financing, urging the world to treat Africa not as a victim of climate change, but as a strategic partner for investment. Meeting at the Second African Climate Summit in Addis Ababa on Monday, experts stressed the urgency of mobilizing resources.
The vulnerability of our member countries caused by climate change, debt burden, and the structural inequalities of the international financial architecture must be redressed through climate justice. We need a genuine cooperation for the implementation of our continent's adaptation plan by providing financial resources, technology, and expertise.
Kenyan President William Ruto echoed the urgency of unity, warning against isolationist approaches.
The truth is undeniable. No nation can solve this crisis alone. Only through bold, united, and sustained collaboration can we avert climate catastrophe. Isolation is not a winning strategy. It is courting failure.
Civil society voices pressed leaders to ensure accountability and push innovative funding mechanisms.
This Addis Second Climate Summit must be able to find mechanisms of funding Africa's climate action and development. We need to make the polluters who have caused us this climate catastrophe to pay for it. We need to tax the polluters, we need to tax the super rich to be able to generate the resources and make them pay for the climate plunder that they are causing the country.
Delegates are expected to finalize a declaration this week capturing Africa's priorities, which will be presented at COP30 in November.
Mohamed Ali Ben Ramadan sent Tunisia to the World Cup with a goal in the 4th minute of injury time that secured a 1-0 win over Equatorial Guinea Monday in qualifying. Tunisia needed a win to secure a spot at next year's tournament in North America with 2 games to spare. It tops Group H with 22 points from 8 games, 10 points ahead of second place Namibia, which has a game in hand. Tunisia has yet to concede a goal in qualifying. It is the 7th time Tunisia has qualified for the World Cup and 3rd in a row. It went out in the group stage in 2018 and 2022.
Tonight, the shock escalation overseas as Israel launched airstrikes inside a country that is a key U.S. ally. Explosions ripping through the capital of Qatar, targeting Hamas officials. Israel says planning had been in the works for months, but the decision to attack came after Hamas claimed responsibility for the deadly terror attack in Jerusalem. But tonight, in a rare move, the White House criticizing Israel. Plus, we'll show you what else Congress found in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book and why the president is calling it a dead issue when we asked about the letter and drawing inside, allegedly including his signature. torture. The new federal charge in the gruesome stabbing of a woman on a North Carolina public transit train. The moment the U.S. attorney on the case got emotional discussing the horrific crime. The concerning new jobs report, nearly 1 million fewer jobs created than previously thought. What one of Wall Street's biggest leaders, Jamie Dimon, is warning about tonight. The shocking murder of a beloved Auburn professor killed in broad daylight at a popular dog park. How police tracked down the suspect. Protests exploding in Nepal, leaving at least 19 people dead. The reason? A nationwide ban on social media. It's being called the first political revolution powered by Gen Z. First look, Apple revealing its thinnest iPhone yet. Plus the new AirPods that can translate conversations in real time in your ear. But are they worth the new price tag? And imagine walking into your college classroom and having a 9-year-old sit down next to you. The boy genius with big dreams taking on college classes. Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
A major escalation of the war in the Middle East. Israel launches a deadly attack on Hamas leaders in Qatar, a U.S. ally.
Israel acted wholly independently.
Federal charges are filed against the man accused of stabbing and killing a Ukrainian refugee in North Carolina. He could get the death penalty.
This is pure evil on full display.
Oh, to another shot! A mess in the ocean. Dozens of containers topple off a cargo ship and into a California port.
And Eye of America, a city reinvents mass transit, and now the buses run on time.
Every 15 minutes is just incredible.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm John Dickerson.
I'm Maurice Dubois.
The chances for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas seem as distant as they've been any time since October 7th, 2023, when Hamas terrorists staged a surprise attack on Israel. Today, the Israeli military launched an attack against Hamas leaders more than 1,000 miles away in Qatar.
The strike was aimed at buildings housing Hamas's political wing in Qatar's capital of Doha.
Qatar, which has been attempting to negotiate an end to the war, condemned the Israeli attack. Holly Williams has long been reporting from the Middle East and joins us now from London. Holly?
Good evening. Israel says that it targeted Hamas leaders who it claims were responsible for the October 7th attacks. Hamas said tonight that the strike killed 5 members of the entourage of one of its senior leaders. The blast in a residential neighborhood was caught on security camera. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it a surgical precision strike.
Israel acted wholly independently.
Hamas is designated a terror organization by the US, but its political wing operates openly in Qatar, making negotiations easier. We visited a different building used by the group in 2023 to interview another senior leader, Musa Abu Marzouk.
Hamas did their duty.
Qatar is a...
Good evening, I'm Jeff Bennett. Ahmed Abbas is on assignment. On the NewsHour tonight, the U.S. job market is proving weaker than earlier reports suggested. Revised government numbers raise new questions about the strength of the U.S. economy.
We take full responsibility for this action.
Israel tries to assassinate Hamas's leadership in Qatar. What the strike means for already stalled ceasefire talks to end the war in Gaza. And Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. unveils his Make America Healthy Again strategy amid concerns about its lack of scientific evidence.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israel's escalating its attacks on Gaza City and has issued orders to forcibly displace the city's entire population of nearly 1 million people. On Monday, Israeli planes dropped leaflets ordering Palestinians to head to Al-Mawasi, a coastal strip of barren land Israel's designated as a so-called humanitarian zone, despite frequent deadly attacks on the area. Israel's latest forced evacuation order comes as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu boasts of blowing up high-rise buildings across Gaza City and warns of even more deadly attacks.
All this is only an introduction, opening act to the powerful main act, which is a ground maneuver of our forces who are now assembling and organizing into Gaza City. And this is why I say to the residents of Gaza, I take this opportunity, listen carefully, you have been warned, leave now.
Israel's defense minister says his forces have leveled 30 major buildings across Gaza City.
Thank you for watching Ahmed Shakil 5858. I am Ahmed Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.